Let's ride. Happy Friday. Happy Red Friday, Chiefs Kingdom. Welcome into Everything Else. I'm Joshua Brisco here on the KCSN YouTube channel and wherever you get your podcasts. People keep asking, is this just a video show? No. Is this just a podcast? No. The show's about doing everything. I've been very clear about that from the beginning. I do not care how unrealistic it is. We're going to talk about every single topic in the world, every single show, within an hour. I've been given a gift in this life, which is that I can talk very quickly, very fast, relatively legibly, and that means I have to speed run every topic that shows up in the comment section. No? Not today? Fair enough. Because, well, Rachel asks in the chat, is this also a cooking show? Yes, someday it will be, Rachel, thank you. And it wasn't going to be until I saw your comment, and now the answer is yes. I have wanted to do a sports-adjacent cooking show for longer. You know what? I've probably straight up just wanted to do a cooking show for longer than I wanted to do a sports show. There are hours and hours and hours of home video footage of me barreling a camera, cooking with my mom, just, I guess, to get my, I don't know, I guess we're going to find out if my mom's in the chat today or not. I might have been, I don't know, from ages 6 to 12. I was ready for the Guy Fieri path if it ever opened up to me. Now here we are in the sports world. I'm very happy here, but I do plan on cooking on this show at some point. I know a lot of like big streamers have, like multiple setups. I've got one desktop and one laptop here that are already kind of at max capacity in terms of what I'm asking them to do every day. But we're going to figure out how to make this happen. Oh, Craig Stout's in the chat, and he would like to join the cooking show. Craig, we are now, I think, one sponsor away from the greatest idea that KCSN has ever had. I don't know if it's about where we source the meat. We've got some folks over there. I don't know if we need to make it a holiday distillery. You know, what can we cook a little reduction down? I don't know. We'll figure out the details. But yeah, I have been preparing to host a cooking show since I was very, very young. And so we will get to that at some point over the life of this show, Lord willing, and the creek don't rise. You know, you may be saying a quick everything bagel with Josh and Craig. Thank you, Kent. Oh man, Kent's here too. Do I explain the everything bagel, the everything else bagel? Is it too soon for me to ask for this to happen? I'm going to mention this, and then we're going to talk about Chiefs Eagles. And there's like almost this whole show is going to be about Chiefs Eagles, and then one really silly Chiefs take, not from me, from the second greatest tight end of this generation. Who said that? I think this show, I don't know that we deserve it yet, but I would like for there to eventually to be a local bakery of some sort that offers to create the everything else bagel. Because the everything bagel already exists, and of course, S-tier bagel, I think. It's a great bagel. It's got everything, right? Wrong! The everything else bagel has everything that isn't on the everything bagel. It is a sweet everything bagel. The everything else bagel, chocolate chips, blueberries, some of those cinnamon crunchy things on top that Panera does. I don't eat those very much anymore because those are pure carbs, and for me, that means pure insulin. I can eat them, I just don't as often because bread and sugar, carb and carb. I will make it happen for the everything else bagel. Anywhere that wants to pick that up, you will have a special spot in my heart and my pancreas for a very long time. Here's where I'm at on Chiefs Eagles, and I understand what's happening, but there is a hilarious, bizarro universe to where Chiefs fans are at mentally right now. I understand. You're thinking, oh man, what if they lose to the Eagles and start 0-2? And I'm actually telling you, I've said this multiple shows already. I've already decided, if they are 3-3 when Rashee Rice gets back, I'm okay. That means you got to beat the Giants and the Jags and then get the Eagles, Ravens, or Lions. But you beat the Giants and Jags and one of those three teams, 3-3, cool. Even then, if they go 4-5, I'm not calling the season. Partially because this isn't my first year watching the Kansas City Chiefs with Patrick Mahomes. And partially because of how the second half of the season shakes out. I have every intention of like being honest about the obvious flaws with this team while also holding the line to say I'm going to need to see something worse than 4-5 at the halfway point before I end up in like big picture panic mode about what they can actually accomplish. They've got real problems. Everybody does. The Eagles have some problems despite looking like, maybe no longer looking like the best team in the NFC. The Packers look really good. But we'll see. Chiefs should have traded for Micah Parsons. Wake up, Brett Veach. What are you doing? That's a joke. Mostly, kind of. My anger towards Brett Veach is a joke. If they had a chance to get Micah Parsons, I should have tried, I guess. I don't know. But I understand how you can get into the headspace. Oh, man. Yeah, but what if this is the year? If you didn't know it was the Kansas City Chiefs, I told you a team lost to the Los Angeles Chargers at a neutral site in week 1, a friendly neutral site, but a neutral site in week 1. And then in week 2, they're at home against the Philadelphia Eagles. What do you expect? You would expect that the team that lost to the Chargers would lose to the Eagles. I think that's reasonable. Transitive property of the NFL. It never really works. Everybody beats everybody in the big circle that's always set by like week 6. But that's a reasonable thing to expect. And beating the Eagles down your number 1 receiver for sure, and your number 2 receiver probably, though we'll talk more about Xavier Worthy in a minute. Dude's unreal. My mom has chimed in. I don't know if you were here for my reflection on kids cooking, the hit homemade TV show that prepared me for my life today. My mom says 80 carbs for the cinnamon crunch bagel, 8 units of insulin. That's 2 full meals of insulin for 1 carb treat, worth it once or twice a year. This is, unironically and obviously, like the best breakdown of this I can give, because my mom also has type 1 diabetes. This is how it works, because you get an ignorant question, like this one from Kent Swanson that says, would you be allowed to eat that? Allowed's the wrong word, Kent. Allowed? I'm allowed to do whatever. I got free will. It just might mean that, I'm mostly gnawing on spinach leaves the rest of the day because I've bolused 8 units for a cinnamon crunch bagel. Thank you, Mom, for the insulin math. Appreciate that. It's all carbs and insulin and ratios and all of it. It's, I'll tell you what, at some point I will do a longer diabetes-based everything else segment on this show. Tucker, I'll have you just prepare some questions. We can do a no dumb questions diabetes edition. And
I love it.
It'll take it from the chat too. This is a good idea. Thank you, excellent helping wise people like my mom and big idiot ignorance like Kent. Anyway. So I understand how you'd get in the headspace of oh man, Mahomes has never lost 3 games in a row, which is crazy, and I don't want to start a season 0-2, which is reasonable. Have any of you thought about what happens if they do beat the Eagles? Have you actually thought about that? Week 1 in Brazil will be shipped back to Brazil like Garfield sending Nirmal to Abu Dhabi. That thing will be in a box, USPS, first class, get into international waters immediately. Locally, nationally, locker room, ESPN, wherever you want to put it. If the Chiefs beat the Eagles at home, the only reasonable take will be, man, we really overreacted to that first week, huh? Man, we really overreacted to them having no Rashee Rice and losing Xavier Worthy 3 plays into the game. We're going to completely forget. And I'll mention this just because I think sometimes this guy does good work. And Maddie Lane, who as far as I can tell, isn't in the chat today. The third of the lab really leaving me hanging here. But Maddie Lane quote tweeted this breakdown from Dan Orlovsky, who said, look, they got to change the offense or else they're not going to make it to the Super Bowl. Hey, Dan, good news. Their number 1 receiver comes back in week 7, and their number 2 receiver's back in a week or 2, maybe. He could play on Sunday, I guess. That angle on it, I really try not to. I try not to nitpick on the national media scene too frequently because honestly, my expectations are relatively low. It's why I will go out of my way to thank Mina Kimes and the Athletic Football Show for doing what I think are at minimum ball watching, ball knowing, intentional analysis with real effort behind it. A lot of national media does not meet that threshold. Some of it does. It's not just Mina and the Athletic Football Show, but those are 2 good examples that I find myself going back to. People with a genuine curiosity about what's going on who care about being right. Which I think is important, not because being right is fun, but because it means you tried to get to the right answer. More on that in a second. That's not even a tease for the next topic today, but it'll work. But the other side of the coin is if they go out there and they look like they are about as good as the Eagles, as they went out there and looked about as good as the Chargers, you are going to go back to this point where you go, it's a long season, and in January, who wants the Chiefs? Nobody. So I don't want to pre-prepare for a loss that hasn't happened yet. I'm certainly not pre-celebrating a win that hasn't happened yet. But I do think it helps in the context of where we're at right now to keep in mind this game has not yet been played. If they win, this entire week gets wiped from our memories. And if they lose, it's a relatively logical conclusion of the problems we saw last week. Then they get a get-right game against the Giants. And then you have the Ravens with your number 1.5 receiver back, hopefully by then with Xavier Worthy. And Rice will be back midseason. Things aren't great, but it's not that weird. I know that's heresy. Like, the injury is weird. The suspension is weird. Oh, and by the way, I'm going to go and mention this now. The Jalen Carter, air quotes, suspension. So bizarre. I guess I was going to save that to talk about that with Tucker, too. But the idea of, like, yeah, it is a one-game suspension, but it's already happened because he got ejected. He's suited up. If you're suspended for a game, you cannot be in uniform on the sidelines with your team warming up for the game. Rashee Rice isn't on the sidelines. I don't know. I think it's kind of strange. But it's certainly not as annoying as this. Courtesy of Up and Adams with Kay Adams, friend of KCSN, friend of Tucker D. Franklin, future KCSN live guest. I thought she did a very good job in this clip with her interview here with Rob Gronkowski, but this clip follows Gronk talking about the problem with the blame game and finger pointing on the sidelines, presumably because Gronk had completely forgotten all those years he played with Tom Brady, but I digress. Here's what Kay Adams and Rob Gronkowski discussed looking at this Chiefs team.
That never happened in New England?
Well, here we go, Kay. Remember Mike Tyson versus Buster Douglas? And Buster Douglas finally beat the crap out of Mike Tyson and made Mike Tyson not invincible anymore. Well, this is kind of the same situation. The Philadelphia Eagles opened the floodgates last year in the Super Bowl versus the Kansas City Chiefs. Like, hey, we're not afraid of this super team, Kansas City Chiefs, that are very, very well known. I feel like a lot of teams last year had that fear. Oh, I can't swing on the Chiefs. We can't give them our best shot because they're so well known and everyone is talking about them. So the Philadelphia Eagles punched them in the face. The Chiefs didn't know how to react to that because no one else was doing that. Well, going into this year now, the Los Angeles Chargers punched them in the face. The Chiefs were like, whoa, they're coming at us. How do we react? Well, they didn't know how to react because no one was doing that before. So the Philadelphia Eagles opened that floodgate of, hey, if you punch these guys in the face, you take it to them, you come out swinging, they're going to fold and they're not going to be the team that you've been seeing all last year.
Man, I just really disagree with that on a variety of levels. First of all, what a September-ass take. Just something you can only say in September. I did see this from Jackie. Another kind of funny one is noting that, he was on the Bucs team that whooped the Chiefs and then acted like the Eagles were the first one to do it. Good point, Jackie. It's wrong on so many levels that I've had a hard time deciding where to start. And then that comment started me in another place entirely. So, first of all, he's like implying the Chiefs have coasted with plot armor and that they finally took a punch and folded. Quote, they're not going to be the team you've been seeing all last year. Did you watch them play last year? Last year was not this invincible team that never got anybody's best shot. This idea also adding, these teams are going out there thinking we can't give them our best shot because they're the champs and blah, blah, blah. Teams do that every week. That is an ongoing trend throughout every Chiefs season is, we know that we're the champs. We know we're the team that other teams want to measure themselves against. We know we're going to get their best shot. How many times have you heard Andy Reid, Matt Nagy, Steve Spagnuolo, Dave Tope, Patrick Mahomes, Chris Jones talk about that? Say that phrase, their best shot. It happens all the time. I was thinking about, Chiefs-Texans playoff game and the punch in the mouth and comeback, and there are 100 other examples of Mahomes doing that, either with a team that was clearly not invincible or getting punched in the mouth early and then coming back and back and back. Again, to Jackie's point, Gronk was on a team that punched the Chiefs in the mouth just as hard as the Eagles did. They didn't end up putting up as many points. The game was as hopeless. Mahomes was better in that Bucs Super Bowl loss than he was in the Eagles Super Bowl loss. Nobody else was. I mean, that thing was a nightmare across the board, at least the rest of the offense. the idea that all of that persists and that he still says that in September is bonkers to me. Because at best, from Gronk's perspective, the most I would give him is that we are in the first act of the movie where the supervillain does take a couple of shots and he takes the hits from the heroes, and you're thinking, oh man, is Thanos dead? And then you remember that you're 12 minutes into a 3-hour-long trilogy of movies, and you go, oh, well, no, this is the Patrick Mahomes Chronicles we're watching. He's probably not perishing in the first act of the first movie. You can say there are cracks in what the Chiefs are building right now. I think that's fair. Again, I think there are cracks in what everybody's building. I think there are cracks in the Ravens foundation because they've gotten every answer right and it still never turns into postseason success. That's a weird, hard, amorphous crack to fill, but every team has flaws. Everybody has those problems. Will this be the year the Chiefs don't make it to the AFC Championship game for the first time in Patrick Mahomes' career as a starter? I don't know. Maybe. But to make that call based on a game that happened 7 months ago, and then one game where the offense was missing its top 2 weapons the entire game, feels so extraordinarily silly to me. The funny thing is it's also not how it worked for the Patriots. It's not how it worked for Brady. It's how we wanted it to work, which I think is kind of the key to all of this. We wanted it to work that way for the Patriots. We wanted it to work that way for the Patriots when the Chiefs beat New England 42-27 on banner night. Foxborough, 2017. Then the Patriots merely went 13-3 and then made it to the Super Bowl again before losing to Nick Foles in the craziest quarterback Super Bowl matchup result of all time. You can want it to be that way. It doesn't make it true. The idea that the Chiefs are now suddenly mortal and mortal for the first time requires a kind of double ignorance that really baffles me. Again, I could build you an argument that, the rest of the league should look at the Chiefs right now and say, hey, there are ways to get them. There are ways to exploit the Chiefs. That's true. Their pass rush hasn't been good enough. So here's how we're going to make sure our quarterback has all the time in the world. Good strategy. We got to test Kingsley Suamataia. He's a young player moving to a new position. We're going to stress him with Jalen Carter. Good strategy. That is such a far cry from the way that Gronk framed it there. And this might just be another instance of just really being picky about who you take your analysis from. But that clip made the rounds, and I was a little bit surprised that it got as much clout as it did, because I just think it's flat wrong on multiple levels. We'll take our first time out here, come back, and talk about where Xavier Worthy's at, where the trenches leave this game. We'll bring Tucker into the mix. And later in the show, I've got a nonsense topic for today. We got some nonsense news today, some everything else news today. Just unlike Nintendo, I'll tell you, I'm not going to make you pay for the final segment. I'm not going to make you pay extra for the DLC. But we'll talk more about Xavier Worthy and the trenches for Chiefs Eagles next.
Shop Chiefs tickets and more with no fees. Plus, save big with code KCSN at ticketsforless.com, the official ticket provider of KC Sports Network.
What's up, guys? I'm BJ Kissel, founder and CEO of KC Sports Network, and I'm here to talk to Kansas City businesses. If you rely on technology, you need an IT support team that's not just another vendor, but a true IT partner. That's how I want to introduce you to my friend and neighbor, KJ Miller. He is a VCIO at ThrottleNet, the Midwest's highest rated and most reviewed IT support company. They've been in business for more than 25 years, helping companies stay secure, productive, and ahead of the curve. They aren't just IT support, but they provide data security, IT strategy, and cloud software services. They do it all, and their reviews show they do it better than anyone else. So if you want to hear about how ThrottleNet can help your local business, join the conversation with myself, KJ Miller from ThrottleNet, and our resident genius from KC Sports Network when it comes to IT, at least as he's affectionately known by us, Mr. Craig Stout. Click the link in the description to hear how ThrottleNet can help you.
I forgot Tucker had a bit for the start of this segment, and it caught me completely off guard, and I really do love that. I've got more news on Xavier Worthy. Tucker, can you hear me from back there?
Oh, dude, I can hear you all day.
I'm curious about your setup. Tucker right now is nice and far away from his desk. He's relaxing on the couch. I think as you should. This is a Friday. It's a casual Friday. It's a red Friday, but it's a Friday. Here's what I got for you, Tucker. Jesse Newell tweets, Chiefs wide receiver Xavier Worthy's shoulder protection pad not quite as noticeable today as it was Thursday's practice. Xavier Worthy might just be built different.
Can I say low bar to clear as noticeable as yesterday's practice, because that was a massive shoulder brace and protection. It looked like his arm was wrapped in bubble wrap from the elbow up.
Yeah. Today it looks like there's a brace poking out from under there. I don't know. That's about all I see. I thought it was interesting and a good time to go back to the fact to remember that Xavier Worthy played the second half of the 2022 season at Texas with a broken hand, which you may, like me, think is important to wide receivers, but you would apparently be an idiot because Xavier Worthy was still very good with a broken hand playing wide receiver. I'll tell you what, I'd still be pretty surprised if he plays against the Eagles, but I thought for a while that Andy Reid was going to go up to the podium this afternoon and say, all right, yeah, Xavier's, we're going to make him doubtful. And right now, I don't know, man. He's been out there enough these 2 days. I think you can throw a little questionable sticker up on him and tell the Eagles to prepare for some extra speed, even if he's not going to be out there doing much. Being on the field is very different than taking a hit and being tackled in an NFL game. But, man, that's a good sign.
What I think is really, I talked about Herbie. I talked with Herbie Tiopi about this for 21 Questions that will air wherever you get your podcast after this show comes out. Probably around 6 p.m. tonight is when this podcast is going to come out. 21 Questions will. I talked to him about the Xavier Worthy and kind of the thoughts and feelings around the media room when he went out there to participate in practice. And Herbie brought up an interesting point that, like, hey, he purposely was out there practicing during the session when all of the media was out there and could take videos and could put stuff out there. It might just be some advanced gamesmanship from Andy Reid and the Chiefs in this part where they're like, oh, hey, we're going to have to actually look at the second half of the Super Bowl that Xavier Worthy played. We're going to have to actually prepare for Xavier Worthy. He's out here practicing. And look, Josh, to your point, they can give him a questionable designation and then not make him inactive, right? Like, they can do that already, but that's not anything that is out of the normal. So I think that this is maybe an advanced form of gamesmanship. To your point, I do think Xavier Worthy's built different. I don't want to discount Xavier Worthy's like toughness at all in this stretch of him trying to come back from this injury. Nate talked about it yesterday on Only Weird Games where he's like, hey, now instead of a couple of weeks, it's like he might actually be able to go next week against the Giants, and that's crazy to think about. So it's one of those things where I do think there's a little bit of both going on. Xavier Worthy being an absolute dog, and a little bit of gamesmanship from the Chiefs and Andy Reid here.
I think you're right about that. The thing it's definitely not is bad news. Like, in the grand scheme of what it looked like on Friday in Brazil, and then, well, we'll see. We'll fly 13 hours home and then get him in an MRI machine on Saturday or Sunday or whatever, and then we'll see. The settlement I would have taken for Xavier Worthy might have been that he comes back the same time that Rashee Rice does. Like if I didn't know what the injury was going to be, I just get to guarantee that he's back at a certain point. Would I have taken a total 6-game absence, including week 1? Probably so. Just to know that they would both be out there together for at least the second half of the season. Even if he's on the sidelines in a hoodie on Sunday against the Eagles, I have a hard time imagining him now next week not being a full participant in practice and not being ready for the Giants. Where, again, like, there was the thought immediate, I think even Monday or Tuesday, some of the reports we started getting were like, yeah, they're going to see if he can rest it, and then if he can't, it might need surgery. And you go, well, that sucks. What a fine line to have his season hang on. And now he's out there jogging around with a smaller brace and all seems well. So, fantastic. I'm happy.
Speaking of hoodies and T-shirts and sweats, did you watch the Thursday Night Football game last night, Josh?
I did. I got my dose of Prime Vision, and I loved it.
you didn't happen to notice when they cut to the sidelines, there was a familiar face on the sideline wearing a t-shirt and some shorts, but also the most chains you've ever seen a human being wear in your life. That was also a part of it, and I thought that was legitimately. There was a couple of times where they cut to Matt LaFleur on the sidelines, and McCole Hardman was sitting there wearing the most chains you've ever seen in your life, sunglasses, and just straight vibing. As a practice squad wide receiver, which he might actually have to be used now because of their injuries to their wide receiver room in Green Bay, which unfortunate for the Kansas City Chiefs front office that they can't just snipe him off of their practice squad. But I will say there was a couple times that was flashed over that I think every practice squad wide receiver for the Packers had on every chain that they owned.
I didn't see Hardman that you're describing here. I think I saw Christian Watson out there. He just signed a contract, but he's rehabbing. I think it was him with, just layers of chains. Really, really using his sideline time in the spotlight wisely. I didn't see Hardman's. I've seen some of his collection before.
Got some good stuff,
so I'm not surprised that he's blinged out. But that second round pick has a very strong NFL career, make some money, and now you're out there on the practice squad. I think you should be as iced up as possible.
I agree. I was very impressed. Good showing. But if I was Matt LaFleur and I turned around and I saw that, I'd be like, what are we doing, guys? Guys, especially, it's a good thing they were winning, because imagine if they were down by a couple scores, you turn around and you just see McCole Hardman in street clothes with all of the chains and jewelry he's ever owned.
With a disco ball around his neck.
Right. You would that would send me. I'd be like, get off the field. Get off of my field. What are we doing?
I can't read my play sheet because of the glare from your diamonds from 6 feet behind me. That rules. You want to talk about something that I'm slightly more annoyed about? Or I'm not annoyed about Xavier Worthy. I am excited for that. You want to talk about something I am openly annoyed about?
I'll come up to the desk for this one. Let's talk about it.
You're motioning in. Also, I saw another comment from my mom saying you look like you have the comfiest couch in the world. So I hope
IKEA.
That is a. Is it really? Look at that.
Yeah, that's
absolutely
an IKEA
clutch.
couch. Mm-hmm.
Prime spots for Lily as well. I gotta figure out how to get the dogs involved on camera on my end, but I got a pretty tight setup here, which I'm happy with. But I've seen that you can get like a high level dog bed. If I have Hop by my face the whole show, he's just going to be trying to bite my face and lick my nose. And so that's not going to make it easier to do a podcast. I want to talk about the trenches in general for Chiefs Eagles. I think there's maybe some Super Bowl carryover that's not deserved, and then some that I think is deserved. But Jalen Carter getting a suspension and getting it called time served, it was genuinely kind of wild to me. I know I mentioned this earlier because I couldn't help myself, but he wasn't suspended for week 1. Just to make sure we all agree on the terms of what words mean.
Yeah.
I think the NFL ultimately probably got the discipline right, where you miss an entire game and you lose your game check for that game. I think a 2-game suspension, let's say he did it at the end of the 4th quarter. I think a 2-game suspension for a loogie is probably too much, but not suspending him after getting, having that happen last play of the game happens after the final whistle, then I think 1 game makes sense. So yeah. I understand why the NFL felt like they were kind of wrapped up there, but I am so curious about the precedent. If he would have played 1 snap, is this different? I don't think it would have been. But then where's the line? What if this would have happened at the break between the 1st and 2nd quarter? Then what? What if this happened coming out from halftime? What if this happened coming out from the lightning delay? What if it did happen in the 4th quarter? Where do you set your line? Because, and I don't actually believe this, but if I'm the Chiefs and Rashee Rice's agent and lawyer and everything, I'm looking around going, hey, wait a second now. You guys knew about this. This is a punishment from something that happened before my client was injured. Count weeks, 4 through 17? Count those as time served. Mm-hmm. Take those game checks. Pick 6 of those games. Give me a 6-game fine. And let me back out there. Again, I don't think that is fair. or at least I don't think that's how it should probably be. Rashee Rice got terribly unlucky getting injured in a tackle by Patrick Mahomes and then having to serve a suspension after that. I don't want that to be the direction that we're headed in, but the NFL's kind of cracked that door open in a way that if they make it more than a one-off, I think it's going to start getting pretty messy pretty quick.
For sure. And I do think the line has to be drawn at like, hey, if you did not play at all. And I understand the thought process. I understand the reasoning. I get it. And I think that this is such a specific case in such a specific scenario that it's, I don't want to say it won't happen again. It's unlikely to happen again. So, but it
was before anybody played a snap, by the way.
Yes, no. So like, it's so bizarre. It's so bizarre what happened. But it is an interesting precedent that people will try to use to obviously make things go their way, right? Like as any good lawyer would, they would use this precedent to try to strengthen their case in terms of this. But agents are lawyers, by the way. People like to say, "Oh, no, agents are lawyers." They have that same thought process there, which I understand people being like, "Well, Rashee Rice should be back." He shouldn't. I mean, it's the forfeited game check thing is what it is. Like, I understand him forfeiting his check that he would have made for playing in there does basically, essentially, in that case, serve as a suspension. And I know that he wasn't necessarily, he was ejected for what he did. So therefore, was he actually suspended because he was ejected, or is he? So like, there's a lot of,
and it didn't happen pregame because kickoff had happened.
Right. So yes,
but he hadn't played.
It is just like a wildly specific scenario that I think that like it works right in this scenario that like, all right, fine. I get it. I understand. I understand that the Eagles probably wanted him to be out there for this game against the Chiefs. I understand that the NFL probably wanted him to be out here for this game against the Chiefs. I kind of want him. I kind of wanted Jalen Carter to be out here for this game, truthfully, because it's like, hey, I don't know. Well, maybe next week, actually. If Kansas Tuamati is going to face a tougher interior defensive line, and it's actually probably this week and next week that he's going to face the two toughest interior defensive linemen in the league. So I think it makes sense the more I like think about it. I just think that people are trying, as with everything, to do a bunch of mental gymnastics to try to fit like their specific scenario. And which is going to happen, right? But I think that for this case, it makes sense as much as Chiefs fans don't want it to make sense.
I agree that I think this is an instance of no idea how you got here, but you got to the right result. Yeah, I think the NFL probably got the right answer, but I think in a league that has really struggled with things like precedent from suspensions, this one's gonna, again, if I'm Drew Rosenhaus or David Mulgeta, which I think are the two agents who are on a first name basis now, not a last name brotherly basis. We're not talking about them on this show. That bingo card can only get checked off if I talk about them on Weird Games. I would be keeping that in mind for my future clients. Just go ahead and try to massage down a future incident, especially if like taunting stuff ends up having more suspensions and ejections. Spitting and taunting aren't the same thing.
No, they're not.
But if that does become a problem, something to keep in mind. Here's what I wanted to kind of run by you, Tucker, because I know you've already you just talk about all these games so damn much now. I am truly, for people who don't know or care, I am so genuinely tickled by how much Tucker D. Franklin is now in the front of camera KCSN space. I'm tickled by how much Tucker is in your lives as a KCSN viewer, watcher, listener, voyeur of various types. It's a very, very good thing. But it is also very funny to watch you probably for the first time get to the point of like absolute saturation. And we are like, this is week 2. And like, man, I'm like, you are doing 3 solo streams a week, plus this show twice, plus that football show and all the production stuff you do. Anyway, if anybody wants to find Tucker's Venmo and send him beer money, I would support this cause. We can put your QR code on the stream someday. Let's do that. All right. So the 2 things I got to write down here after I ask you this question, Tucker, is I want to write down the diabetes Q&A and a Tucker appreciation day.
Wow.
And I'm not going to clear that with BJ, and I'm just going to deal with the consequences of that after the fact. I was like, why did you raise $50 for Tucker? I was like, because he felt like he needed it. I don't know. Leave me alone.
I appreciate it.
Anyway, with that in mind,
Mhm.
we have found ourselves now a couple weeks in a row talking about the trenches. And I think there is a little bit of a misconception about where the Eagles are at right now. Where their offensive line, those are the dudes. Like, these are the guys you're game planning around. These are the guys who are concerned for the Chiefs pass rushers. And these are the names you know from the last few years of Eagles football by and large. The defensive line and the pass rush in general has changed from the Super Bowl to now.
Yeah.
Most notably, they added Joshua Uche, so they got better. He's wearing number 0. He had a good first week. The Chiefs can't get any pressure, and I'm pissed.
Yeah, fair.
But it is a different pass rush for Philadelphia. You obviously have Jalen Carter probably getting a good amount of work against Kingsley Suamataia, and welcome to your new position. He got by Khalil Mack moving inside a couple times, but I feel like Kingsley survived against the Chargers. It was a passing grade for him. For Josh Simmons, I expect him to be better than passing in this game. I expect to see a good game against good competition because I have high expectations and high hopes for Josh Simmons. When I point in the direction of both sides of the Eagles' trenches to both sides of the Chiefs' trenches, Tucker, where do your eyes drift in terms of, we forgot to do one worry, one wish. I forgot we're going to do that on Friday. Hold on. Unofficial ow coming later. I forgot to make it a graphic prompt. But anyway, in the trenches.
Yeah, let's start with the Eagles defensive line, because this is something that I've talked about with the Eagles defense on, I think, a lot of the shows that I've been on. Look, this Eagles defense looks a lot different than what it did in the Super Bowl. Not only just talking about like the defensive line, obviously they lose. Brandon Graham is retired. Josh Sweat is playing for the Cardinals. Milton Williams is playing for the Patriots. They do add, as you mentioned, Josh Uche, Azeez Ojulari also there. They also signed Zadarius Smith.
Zadarius Smith is there now. Yep.
And now they get an addition this week of, Jalen Carter. And
after serving his 1-game suspension. That we all saw happen on the football field.
Crazy. So I do think that the defense of this Eagles team is not the big bad defense that it was last year. I think that this defense, when you look at the game that they played against the Cowboys last Thursday night, clearly I think took a step back. I think I don't think that's crazy to say that it took a step back from what they had last year, because they had some dudes on that team last year. They got guys like James Bradbury, still a free agent, Darius Slays with the Steelers, Chauncey Gardner-Johnson was traded to the Texans, Isaiah Rodgers to the Vikings. They could probably use him right about now because they're playing Adoree Jackson out there. So this defense is specifically in let's go deeper into the defensive line, is a new look defensive line. But I think it's against a Chiefs offensive line that's still trying to find that gel and that communication. It's going to take them a minute, right? Like I've been pretty hard on what I've seen from the first week on the offensive line. I didn't really love what I saw from Kingsley Suamataia at left guard. Too many quick wins, and I don't care. Like Khalil Mack is good. He's also older than Greg Stout, so I mean, like there's a lot going on there with Khalil Mack, and now he's going to face maybe he's a top 3 interior rusher in the National Football League. It's him, Chris Jones, and Dexter Lawrence who he'll face next week. So it's like, it's one of those things where it's a baptism by fire for Kingsley. I want to see that. Jawan Taylor didn't play very well. Would love to see him, not take a penalty for a game if that's possible. Currently leading the NFL in penalties taken through week 1, I should say. There was a Thursday night game last night, but I don't know if anyone added to their penalties more than Jawan Taylor had, truthfully. So there's that. And then Joshua Simmons maybe didn't play as well as I would have liked him to. Like on second watch, like he played good, he played fine, but like you would have liked him to maybe be a little bit better in some certain areas. Now, what the Chiefs can do offensively to negate the pass rush is run the ball more, right? Like they can run the ball more, get those guys to not pin their ears back, and maybe that can help Kingsley. Maybe that can help Josh Simmons. Maybe that can help Jawan Taylor over there not take a penalty either. Who knows if running the ball will help that. But they got to do something different. They can't just keep doing the same thing over and over and expect a different result, right? So, like, that's the point where I'm at, where I want to see how they help Kingsley with Jalen Carter, because this is Jalen Carter's first game. He's going to be fresh. You'd hope he'd be fresh coming into this one. So that's one that is certainly a matchup that I am looking for.
Let's go ahead and let's get our ow And let's go ahead and do our one worry, one wish, even though I forgot to actually plan on this for either of us. I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to do something crazy. I'm going to do something I've never done before in my entire life. I'm going to blow some minds right now. My wish, 10 handoffs to Isaiah Pacheco.
Whoa.
Hand Isaiah Pacheco the ball 10 times. Not just to do it. Not just because the mere act of running the football makes your offense fundamentally better, because it doesn't. That's not necessarily true.
Right.
But I would like to see an earnest attempt. And you can't say they did that against the Chargers. I know, like, the often, I think, misplaced, longest-lasting criticism towards Andy Reid his entire career is that sometimes he gets bored and forgets to run the ball. Or the running game, I think more accurately, the running game's not working. He's going to leave it in the dust and then replace the running game with a short passing game. But with no Rashee Rice, probably no Xavier Worthy, it would just be nice for Patrick Mahomes to have an option that isn't Superman time. Mm-hmm. And I do think that there will be opportunities for Hollywood and maybe a bigger day for Travis Kelce and Juju. And I think we talked about it on Weird Games a lot. I think Tyquan Thornton is important in this game. But it would be really, really nice, especially not only when you're having the trouble just in pass protection, I think as you were alluding to, Tucker, give the offensive line a chance to strike first and try to even that battle just a little bit to keep the offense, again, not just balanced for balance's sake, but for the sake of being able to give Patrick Mahomes a mental play off here or there. And maybe that does, maybe Isaiah Pacheco's 6th carry is the one where he gets into the flow of the game. He never met that mark in Brazil. 5 carries for him, 5 carries for Kareem Hunt. You have an offensive line that should be better at that. Yeah. I just want to find out if that's true or not. If the entire running game ends up getting wadded up and chucked into the trash again this week, then maybe we end up in a whole other headspace when Worthy gets back. But in the meantime, I'm wishing for a lively running game. And if I had to put a number on it, I'd say 10 carries for Isaiah Pacheco, and that'll do for me.
Ooh, I do like that.
What are you wishing for? What do you
I've
wish?
been pretty big on running football this week, truthfully. But I wish that Patrick Mahomes doesn't have to go absolutely nuclear for them to win a football game. Do I like to watch Patrick Mahomes go absolutely nuclear? For sure. I like it to go. Yeah. I like to watch him go absolutely nuclear when the score is 35-6. I like him. Right. I like to see that. I want to see that. I want to see Patrick Mahomes go nuclear when it's guys are catching the ball, when he doesn't have to lay horizontal to the ground and flick it above his head to get a first down. Like I don't want to see Patrick Mahomes have to do that to play to win a football game. I guess my wish is for them to take care of their business where Patrick Mahomes doesn't have to. Like that's the thing. It's great to have a quarterback that can do that, right? Like it's awesome that Patrick Mahomes can do that. I don't think that we should burn all of our wishes as we're in this segment here. Your wishes in the genie bottle, right? I don't think you should burn all of those in the first 3 weeks of the season. I think you should kind of save some of those hits until later on. I just want to see the Chiefs look good. Obviously, Patrick Mahomes play a good game. I don't want him to be shit, right? Like I don't want him to play awful. Yeah, but
that'd
Patrick
be
Mahomes
such a bad wish.
Yeah, I wish Patrick Mahomes would play bad. No, I'm not saying that. I wish Patrick Mahomes could play a normal football game and still be in the game. So that's kind of not a very specific wish, but I guess it's kind of vague in the sense of just like, I don't want to have to rely on Patrick Mahomes, whether that's the offensive side of the ball or the defensive side of the ball, really, for that matter, to relying on Patrick Mahomes to go out and make plays all the time for them to have a pulse in a football game.
My worry is Jalen Hurts out of structure. Jalen Hurts in structure, in this offensive structure, is already brutally dangerous, but I can't remember what the stat was, what they said on the broadcast last Thursday night, but I think it was Jalen Hurts, I think, had 2 scrambling rushing touchdowns, and I think it was like, they were his 2nd and 3rd scramble touchdowns in like 3 years or something. He has a ton of rushing touchdowns, but it's been design stuff and tush pushes. And he just was watching things break down and then taking off and killing you.
Yeah.
Justin Herbert was doing that at a high level in week 1 against this defense. I am not a Jalen Hurts guy, but I am also not a Jalen Hurts detractor, because I think in the confines of this offense, with the weapons that they have, he's deadly. He can kill you in 100 ways. So if it's a plant in the pocket and wait for A.J. Brown to come open, I'm nervous about A.J. Brown. If it's sit back there and run a really effective, efficient running game, I'm worried for that. But the thing you can't really survive against this Eagles team is Jalen Hurts killing you on the third play of the play, if that makes sense. Where it's not a running play by design. It's not this deep shot to A.J. Brown. It's a gap in the rush. Charles Omenihu talked about being more aggressive in the rush this week. Okay, you got a more aggressive rush. Jalen Hurts now squirting through the gap and scrambling for 15 yards on 3rd and 12, and you go, oh no, it's happening again. So that's my main worry.
My worry is also on that side of the ball, actually, funny enough. I think it makes sense for both of our worries to come to that side of the ball. My worry is for A.J. Brown to go absolutely nuclear, because if he is in the slot and Shamari Connor is also there, boy howdy, it could get ugly, and it could get ugly quick. And I'm sure I've tweeted this out a couple of times. If you need a play, find where 27's at. And if 27 is in on A.J. Brown, it might get dark real quick at Arrowhead Stadium if everything's firing on all cylinders for the Eagles. And that's what worries me, is that the lack of changing of anything on defense in A.J. Brown after a game where he gets targeted one time, and it's like the last drive of the game when he gets targeted, and he's like, oh, yeah, in case you forgot, here's an A.J. Brown masterclass. And you're right about Jalen Hurts. Like, Jalen Hurts, I think, is a very good quarterback for the Philadelphia Eagles. I think he is the perfect quarterback for that offense. I don't know if you put him anywhere else, if he's necessarily, like, as high as his potential can be inside this Philadelphia Eagles offense, which is great. Like, that's perfect for, like, what the Philadelphia Eagles need. A.J. Brown's a guy where you could put him anywhere and he'll be a damn good wide receiver. So, like, that's what I a little bit worry about, is him from the slot, cooking Shamari Connor, and just being a vintage A.J. Brown day. That's my worry.
Okay, we've done it. We've talked about Chiefs-Eagles. I have another Chiefs thing, and then something completely off the beaten path. One more quick little timeout, and we'll come back and talk about everything else.
What's good, everyone? It is KCSN betting analyst Benny Heiss. You know, something hit me as I was driving to the Missouri side, ironically, for something not available on the Kansas side. I cross over. I just can't get over how long sports fans in the state of Missouri have been waiting. It feels like forever. Good news is you don't have to wait much longer, because DraftKings Sportsbook, America's top-rated sportsbook app, is finally coming to the Show Me State. And if you're thinking, yeah, but I got to wait on the sidelines until December 1st, it's not true. You can sign up right now. And when we go live, new Missouri customers get $300 in bonus bets just for placing a $5 bet. $5. That's not even as much as a pumpkin spice latte that's going to take over. So it's not some ragtag sports, but this is DraftKings. You got live in-game betting. So if your team starts hot, you can jump in mid-play. There's lightning fast payouts. None of that wait 3 days for your money nonsense. And you've got more ways to get in on the action. There's no better way to start. It's all from your phone. When we go live, you'll be betting with a sportsbook trusted by millions, safe, secure, fast withdrawals, everything you want. Well, except maybe a guarantee that your team will cover the spread, but that part's still on you. So here's the move. You download the DraftKings Sportsbook app, use code KCSN, and when we go live December 1st, that $5 bet turns into $300 in bonus bets. That is code KCSN in partnership with DraftKings Sportsbook. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. 21 plus and physically present in Missouri. Eligibility restrictions apply. Bonus bets expire 7 days after they are issued. Excludes customers who redeem pre-launch sign-up offer. Terms at sportsbook.draftkings.com/promos.
Success in real estate takes more than vision. It takes the right financial partner. When someone takes something rundown and turns it into something great, that's called a comeback story, like Brain Group. They take distressed properties here in KC, completely rework them, and then turn them into valuable real estate. But that kind of work needs the right bank behind it. Enter Emprise Bank. They're not about cookie-cutter loans. They saw Brain Group's vision, backed them, and now they're making big moves in Kansas City real estate. Talk about your partner in possible. Emprise doesn't do one-size-fits-all financing. They invest in potential and back growth. Visit emprisebank.com/KC to learn more. Emprise Bank, member FDIC, equal housing lender.
Here, an absolutely vital bit of news that I didn't realize. I'm a few days late on this, but I was asked about it on the radio program Cody and Gold over on 96.5 The Fan. They said, Josh, what's your favorite of the international KC Wolves? And I said, what? I saw the Irish KCO Wolf, but I did not realize that the Chiefs, they tweeted this, I think it was on the 8th, an introduction to the Wolf Pack. And I got to tell you, I need everybody to know there's not a lick of sarcasm in my voice. I love these little suckers. I am so happy with the Kansas City Wolf Pack. The Chiefs tweeted, KC Wolf has welcomed some trusted friends to help spread joy, game day spirit, and a little mischief across the world. Look out for new mascot shenanigans all season long. If you're watching on the video stream, you can see right now there are 5 of them. There's the OG KC Wolf, then there's the Irish KCO Wolf, which is basically just a ginger KC Wolf with like some diamond green and orange pants. You have the Spanish KC Wolfgang, not to be confused with the famous chef, with the Spanish, or excuse me, with the German flag patch, and then these black pants with swirly red and yellow thingies on them, swirls. KC Wolfington, the UK one, with X's and O's and like a play sheet drawn up on its pants. And then KC Labazo, the Spanish one, with almost like a stained glass kind of pattern. I am elated with this on a variety of levels. I love the expansion of the KC Wolf brand. I love the expansion of the pant fashion that we're seeing here. I love the idea of just different locals around the world, different local KC Wolves. I will admit that when I saw that KCO Wolf was called KCO Wolf and was again just sort of seemed like a ginger version of KC Wolf, I don't know. They could have done a little more, or maybe a little less there. Ultimately, It worked out brilliantly. I love the crew, and I think I like all of them. I called my tattoo artist before the show today, and I told him I had an emergency.
They all are a different color than the OG KC Wolf, though. So OG KC Wolf is gray, and it looks like that they're all like that brownish orangish color.
Yes. Which is, again, a good clarification. Thank you, Tucker, because you're right. That's what makes them distinct from the OG one, but they all just sort of... I like that the tweet said friends when they look identical. Like I thought for sure we were going to hear like some sort of family thing, but, you got family in all these different countries. I don't know. I'm just glad to have that. And I would Brazil. They seem like they're made to be little figurines. I need... Yes. Hey, whoever at the Chiefs is watching, listening to this right now, if you can just get me, I don't know if these exist yet, but they have to soon. If you can just get me little figurines of all 5 of those, I'll put a new shelf behind me. I don't even have to put them on camera. I just want them. I just love them.
Right.
Big KC Wolf guy.
Pretty sick. NFL Brazil responded and said, "Where is KC Lobinho?" Which I think that's a pretty good one. Lobinho.
Well, that KC Wolf would be hairless.
Brazil? Great point.
Is that Portuguese for Brazil? Is that what you said?
Wait. I meant wolf. Chat knew what I meant.
I think the Spanish one I looked up. I think it's Spanish for wolf cub. I think was what I found earlier.
Is Wolfington English? Is Wolfington UK for wolf?
Wolf? Yeah, I think so. Look, not only do I love this, I would also like to be in the meeting for the next round of them. Like let's put a KC Wolf in every country. I want a KC Wolf in every U.S. embassy in the world. Wow. Just in there, someone in full costume. I mean, one of the wolves in every embassy around the world. I was looking around just now because I don't think it's out, but somewhere I absolutely 100% have a little KC Wolf little stuffed animal that I got at Arrowhead years ago. I might have, 27, 28. No, I got it at some point when I was visiting as a kid. I love a KC Wolf edition. I always kind of wanted more KC Wolf, more fun mascot stuff around the Chiefs. This is huge for me. We're already nearly to the hour mark. It's actually after 1 o'clock already, but I'm definitely not going to talk about this on Monday. So I'm going to rip through briefly. Here's what you need to know from today's Nintendo Direct, paid DLC edition. Did you see any of this, Tucker? Did you follow literally any of this morning? Are you invested in any way whatsoever to Nintendo news?
No. Sorry.
Fantastic. That's okay. That's fine. That's what I'm here for. At some point, I want to talk about the Switch 2 and Donkey Kong Bonanza in more depth because I have things to say. Mario Kart World also. But today, there's a new Direct. It's an hour long, just an hour of news and trailers and updates and stuff from Nintendo. It's the 40th anniversary of Super Mario Bros., so we're getting Super Mario Galaxy and Super Mario Galaxy 2 on Switch. That's exciting. I never played the second one. The first one I played on Wii and absolutely loved. And the sequel that we've all been waiting for. Super Mario Galaxy movie is the official sequel to the Super Mario Brothers movie. So we are getting another Mario movie. We're getting a new Mario Tennis called Mario Tennis Fever. I loved the GameCube Mario Tennis, and the Switch one that came out, I think Aces maybe, did not work for me at all. Just did not have fun, did not feel good, I'm not sure. Had a similar problem with the new Mario Strikers Battle League, I think is what it was called, the new soccer one a few years ago. Not great. So I'm holding out hope on Mario Tennis Fever. Pokemon Pokopia is the game that feels like it has gone one step too far and also is targeted to me in a way that's like kind of upsetting. It appears that Pokemon is finally given us like a farming sim management game, and as a longtime lover of Stardew Valley, Animal Crossing, putting hundreds of hours in both of those, which is hundreds of hours less than Renee put into Stardew, by the way. If we ever want to talk about Stardew, I'll just step out and let her step in here. But Pokemon Pokopia opens with a Ditto that then transforms into a human being with still Ditto features, right. And then that human being appears to be building if I had to guess, utopia is the wordplay, a utopia for local Pokemon. If that is any good at all, I will play it for 150 hours minimum, and if it's not very good, I'll probably play it for like 100 hours because that's just a good place for my brain to just slide into at like 8 o'clock on a Wednesday. Donkey Kong Bonanza, short version, great game. I've beaten it. Worth your time. They've got a paid DLC coming. I haven't seen the price point on it yet. And then Pokemon Legends ZA, which isn't out yet, a game that I am extremely excited for, by the way. It's a sequel to Pokemon Legends Arceus, or Arceus. I don't know or care. And I love that game. Open world Pokemon. It's not huge open world necessarily, but a big enough world you get to walk around. You can just throw Pokeballs at Pokemon in the wild. You don't have to battle them to catch them. You can just throw and catch. Really great mechanic. When people ask about my favorite Pokemon games or where they should start, I say if you haven't played in a while, Legends Arceus is fantastic. Great refresh view on the franchise. I'm really excited for this one. They announced paid DLC for that game today, which is not, the game isn't out yet, and they're already telling us what the paid DLC is going to be. They're also doing a lot right now with the Nintendo Switch 2 editions of games that came out on the Switch 1 because there's more processing power. You've got different screen resolutions and all of these things. So there are some that were free. There have been some that are paid. But I'm just kind of keeping an eye on the industry, I guess, in terms of it's keeping an eye on Nintendo, specifically like, hey, so this game that you paid $60 for on your Switch 1, give us another $20 and it'll run better on the Switch 2 and you get a few extra levels, which I think is kind of what happened with the Kirby game. I will give a free additional, free, but like just my 100th promo for the Besties podcast, because they touched on this a little bit an episode or two ago of like, I wonder how often this is going to happen. And then the Direct came out today, and it was like, hey, there's a lot of DLC and a lot of Switch 2 editions, and also good news on things that we got a date for Hades 2. Hades is incredible. Resident Evil Requiem looks really good, and I will not be playing it. I don't play scary games. I'm just not, I don't need that. I like Animal Crossing, which we didn't get today, sadly. And Tamagotchi Life Living the Dream. Weird video game that I'm excited for because I just recently started playing Tamagotchi Life on the 3DS. Kind of a similar, like, you've got your little Miis, and you want to keep them happy and feed them and have them living happy lives while you manage this little island. I'm interested to see what the twist on it is for the Switch 2 version. And people should play Donkey Kong Bonanza. If you have a Switch 2, Donkey Kong Bonanza actually, I think, shows off the Switch better than Mario Kart World does. But everybody has Mario Kart World because it was the only Switch 2 game that came out when the Switch 2 came out. So I think that's everything.
So that game that you were talking about, I tried to Google it really quick. No relation to Tamagotchi? No relation?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. As far as I'm aware, there's no relation there. I don't know if
it was
those
like
are
a cousin
simply like
or
similar
same
root
world.
words.
Right.
I don't know. Yeah, Tomodachi. I can't remember what exactly the 3DS one was called.
Tamagotchi.
I think it was Tomodachi Life is the 3DS one. It's fun. I've played a ton of it, but I've also gotten to the point where I was like, okay, well, I think I've done everything I could do in this game, which I can talk a lot more about. I can talk a lot more about the 3DS experience at some point in the future as well. Here's one little bit of news as we head out here. Andy Reid has said it's, quote, slim that Xavier Worthy would play on Sunday against the Philadelphia Eagles. A, quote, slim chance, as being tweeted by both Matt Derrick and Nate Taylor. Nate says here, quote, he did a little bit of teamwork Friday, but that was it. He's doing very well. So not a great chance, sounds like, that we see Xavier Worthy against the Eagles, but better news on him this week than I think any of us could have reasonably expected. Okay, I think that's it. Tucker, you good? Can I wrap this sucker up?
Yeah, Jalen Rose didn't practice again, though, today either. I want to throw that out there as well.
No.
But, yes.
Yeah, I'd like to see him at some point. Knee thing, kind of.
I'd just like to see him. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I like that pick. I'd like to see him in the mix. Obviously, you're a thin receiver. Whatever's going on. Knee tendonitis, I think, officially, right?
That's what they're calling
So,
it. I talked
not
about
on
it on
IR.
the stream about what tendonitis can do, how you can get tendonitis. And one of them was age. And I don't think that that's what's happening, but...
I hope not. I hope all the details on Jalen Rose's draft card were all true. So
oh, great!
Yeah,
Sorry,
there you go. So
another point. I got another side note. The lectern that they have this year with Burns and McDonald, I know it's a new sponsor. Great looking lectern.
great lectern, an overdue upgrade. Honestly, I'm sure the Burns and Mac folks there wanted to make sure they got a shiny new lectern, but it is a very, very good one. This is a great take. And that is the final take you're going to hear from us until Chiefs-Eagles arrives on Sunday. I'll also, of course, have pregame, halftime, postgame on the Chiefs Radio Network. So I will be talking about this game for 3 hours still before it actually begins on Sunday. But that's going to do it for us here on Everything Else. That's Tucker Franklin. Oh, point in the wrong direction. That's Tucker Franklin. I'm Joshua Brisco. This has been Everything Else on KC Sports Network. We'll talk to you on Monday. Till then, bye, Mom!